Hi, Neil Sean on your entertainment news with the legends that are the beautiful girls from Bananarama. Remember though, ladies,
if you miss it, you miss out.
Don't miss Bananarama today on your entertainment news. Oh, great. Now, if like me you're an 80s child who just loves everything all pop, then you're going to love Really Saying Something by those brilliant girls, Bananarama. What I love about Really Saying Something is really it tells you their story from Karen and Sarah's perspective. And I think what's also interesting is you find out that the girls really were not a manufactured band. I won't spoil their story because it is really a brilliant story. And as I say in all these videos, this is not a paid promotion. I don't get paid for doing these reviews. I have no association with the publisher. I simply wanted to share my thoughts on having known the girls and of course experienced their wonderful music, what their book's all about. I was really stunned to find out just what a hard story the girls had getting going. And you know, they're very open about how they got a single deal, then a 2-single deal, and then there was a bit of faith in them doing an album. But their story to that point is equally fascinating. There's a brilliant story featuring Rolling Stones rocker Keith Richards, who they just accidentally meet while sitting on the steps of Chelsea Town Hall. They were there, of course, because that was the centre of fashion in that period. The girls then went on to have colossal success with Fun Boy 3, and more importantly, I think what I really enjoy is their stories about their climb to the top and how they lived in some horrendous places to make it big. Now, lots of fans in particular will love the PWL era. This is when the girls teamed up with Mike Stock, Matt Aitken and Pete Waterman to create Venus, which went on to be a #1 US smash. Something, of course, the girls could not have foreseen. But what I didn't really know is that there was a bit of, lack of support, shall we say, in their planned cover of that track. They knew what they wanted to do, they pushed forward. This is really girl power before the much hyped and publicised girl power of the Spice Girls. Now, after they had this massive hit, of course, they went on for a string of hits with Stock Aitken Waterman, with things like I Want You Back, Love in the First Degree, and of course tracks like Love, Truth and Honesty, a particular favourite of mine. Now, what I really like about the girls is that they also take you on a journey of when things started to go not as successful and how they also decided to go down a route where they did their own albums. This is really taking control of your own career. If you are a fan, you're going to love their stories about George Michael and of course recording hit tracks alongside Band Aid and then re-recording them again when they were in Band Aid 2. Now, the girls themselves have got a very open book. They tell you things that you've never really know about Bananarama and the struggles that they had. I particularly love their Robert De Niro's story. One sad story, but it's nice to know their take on it, is of course pop superstar George Michael, who they became incredibly friendly with. I won't spoil any of the stories there. It's worth the price of the book alone. And if, like me, you're a huge fan of George, you are fascinated to know exactly what made him tick. The girls themselves were also starstruck, as you find out in the book, by meeting people like Michael Caine. But I think what really resonates with anybody from the 80s is just their huge connection with so many styles of, great 80s pop. Who could forget big nights, of course, like Heaven, Kinky Galinky, the Wag Club, the Blitz Club? These girls really stomped around them all, making sure that they were known and picking up the vibe of what made their music really connect with that crowd. I think what's interesting as well is when they're first starting out with their first single, they had a cassette which they took along, and you could do this in those days, and actually performed it, miming, at these clubs to, of course, gain attention. One of the favourite tracks of Bananarama themselves, which they've admitted, was Cheers Then, which was a sort of slow track, which they've never really released since, because they said after having the first few hits, once they released Cheers Then, that didn't rate very well, and they figured, no, people wanted us to be upbeat and positive. One of my favourite albums is Please Yourself, their last album for London Records. It doesn't really get that much of a feature, and that would be the downside of the book for me. I would love to know the creative process of how the girls wrote all those fantastic songs alongside composer and of course producer Mike Stock. I think people would love to know the creative process a little bit more, so perhaps that's book 2. But if you are a Bananarama fan, and let's face it, who isn't, because once those thumpy beats come on any dance floor, at any club, any wedding, any event, then we're simply all up. And these girls really are saying something. If you're looking for a book to lift your spirits, and let's face it, we're all looking for something in these very difficult times, then Bananarama's Really Saying Something is the book for you. And if you want to find your inner Venus, well, it's right there, page after page. Thank you so much for watching.